I would see Kansas City as a team being on the outside looking in.
That's spicy.
Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner. Welcome to another episode of 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. I am your host, Brian McFadden. It's going to be slightly longer than 30 minutes today. We have a special guest, NFL Analyst Ty Schalter. He is running a few minutes late, so we're not going to leave you with dead air. We've got a little idea that my producer Anthony came up with. So Madden Ratings have been slowly releasing, and we thought, hey, if we got to kill 8 to 10 minutes, what better way than to let's pull up the Madden ratings for the different skill positions, and let's go over the ratings and just kind of give my opinion. Shout out to all you guys who are in the chat. I see a few of you there already. Feel free to chime in on you agree, you don't agree on the Madden ratings. Do you think somebody should be rated higher? Do you think somebody should be rated lower? We've got to kill about 8 to 10 minutes until our guest is able to pop on here. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Anthony, I'm going to leave it up to you what positions you want to present. So feel free to we're going to share right off. Here's a little tease. So Ari Meirov, who is the NFL insider for PFF, Pro Football Focus, actually will be my guest on August 2nd. So we're going to use Ari's tweets here, who breaks down the top Madden ratings at each position. But if you're a listener, if you're a fan of the show, Ari Meirov, NFL insider from PFF, will be my guest not the coming Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that, August 2nd. All right, so we're going to start with the top 10 edge rushers from Madden NFL 23. We've got Myles Garrett, 99, TJ Watt, 96, Nick Bosa, shout out to the 49ers fans who listen to the show, at 94, Von Miller, 92, Khalil Mack, 92, Joey Bosa, 91, both Bosa brothers in the top 6, Cam Jordan of the Saints at 91, DeMarcus Lawrence, 90, Chandler Jones with a nice 90, joining the Las Vegas Raiders opposite Max Crosby, and Rashawn Gary, 89. So, I mean, can't really argue with these individuals. Rashawn Gary is an interesting surprise, kind of cracking that top 10 there as an inside defensive lineman for the Green Bay Packers. He's a guy who didn't realize his potential fully as a rookie. But it's nice to see him at 89. Max Crosby actually led the NFL in pass rush win rate last year, so it's a little bit, or maybe it was total amount of pressure. It's a little bit surprising not to see him in the top 10. So let's go to the chat. We've got Lawrence isn't as good as Jones. I think that's interesting. Lawrence is the talent is in question. Lawrence has had some issues staying on the field. So I'm actually going to have to agree with 49ers faithful forever there that I think Jones might have been a little bit higher than Lawrence. I think they base these a lot on talent, more so than just availability. Pro Football Demon, shout out to PFD there, says that Watt should be 99, no question. I can't really disagree with that there. This is a guy who tied the overall stat lead last year with 22.5. How do you not put that guy as a 99, Myles Garrett a 99 instead? I can't really dispute that. Joey should have a higher rating, and TJ should be higher, and Nick should be higher. This is from Ultimate Killer. So I think multiple people are in agreement that TJ Watt at 96 overall is a little low, and a shout out to both Bosa brothers who should be rated a little bit higher. Nick right now at 94, Joey at 91. Great intel. Let's pull up another position. Anthony, whatever position you feel like doing. Great comments, guys, in the chat. Let's keep those going. Madden ratings get people talking. So scrolling down Twitter, I see what position are we going to talk about next? All right, here we go. Top running back ratings. Derrick Henry at 97. Christian McCaffrey, CMC at 96. Once again, this is all based on talent and not necessarily availability. We know that McCaffrey has played very little over the past 2 seasons due to injury. Nick Chubb, if anybody saw that video of him squatting like 600 plus pounds with that bent bar, I mean, he is an absolute stud. So Nick Chubb at 96. Jonathan Taylor, top running back from last year, comes in at number 4 with 95. Dalvin Cook, 94. Joe Mixon, 93. Alvin Kamara at 90. We got Aaron Jones at 89. Austin Eckler, 88. Ezekiel Elliott, 88. Josh Jacobs, 87. For first instinct, that might be a little bit rich. Leonard Fournette, playoff Lenny, all 260 pounds of him coming in at 87. Kareem Hunt, 86. How about that Browns backfield? Chubb at 96, Kareem Hunt at 86, and Saquon at 86. So comment, CMC should be dropping from 49ers Faithful. Ultimate Killer, Christian shouldn't be that high. He doesn't play. So multiple comments from you guys saying that Christian McCaffrey at 96 overall is a bit rich. It's hard because, like I said, they don't put injury into this. There is an injury rating. Don't get me wrong. Pro Football Demon said Zeke is a solid 80 overall at this point. Ouch. Hurting on Ezekiel Elliott. I know some people who are high on Zeke. I'm with you. We've mentioned on this show actually that I'm higher on Pollard this year than Zeke. So 80 overall might be a little harsh there, Pro Football Demon. But him at 88 overall might be a little rich. So yeah, the ones that stand out to me here, Josh Jacobs, 87. I maybe would put him more like in the kind of 84 to 85 range. Saquon, 86 actually feels about right. But if we're going to knock Saquon for the injuries, CMC, maybe we need to knock him down a couple points as well. Ultimate Killer, Alvin should be a little higher. Alvin Kamara, 90 overall. Yeah, I can see him bumping up a few points, especially with his ability in the pass game and the fact that he basically was that entire Saints offense last year. We'll have to stay tuned to see if he's going to miss games this year, but that shouldn't factor into his rating. Okay, on to the next position, Anthony. We're doing great killing time. It's already 10:07 here on the West Coast, 1:07 on the East Coast. Let's see if we can get to a couple more positions before our guest Ty joins. Scrolling Twitter. Dead on Tyler. All right. Top safeties in Madden NFL 3. We've got, now this is an interesting one, Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, getting a little bit up there in age. Actually signed with the Saints, we mentioned. He is now on his third team at 94 overall, above players like Derwin James at 93. You talk about injuries, but as far as last year, just put it all together, and he was an All-Pro in his rookie season. Budda Baker at 92. Baker did not have a great year last season. So 92 overall, talent level once again. Kevin Byard, 92 overall. I actually like that. Micah Hyde, 91. Justin Simmons, 91. Jesse Bates, I have to see if he is actually going to attend training camp. He did not sign his franchise tag yet with the Bengals. Jordan Poyer at 90. Harrison Smith, 90. Jamal Adams, 90 overall. Has lived up to expectations of getting traded to the Seahawks, so that might be a little rich. We got Minkah Fitzpatrick at 89, Adrian Amos 88, Antoine Winfield 87, and Devin McCourty 87. The disrespect for Jimmy Ward is high. 49ers faithful forever. Not surprising to see a 49ers fan. I think he is that Ward is one of the steadiest safeties. May not be the flashiest player, maybe not get the headlines. I'm curious to see where he is. We don't have to pull it up, Anthony, but I'm curious to see where that should be. I'm with Tyler there. Fitzpatrick should be way higher. I thought Minkah Fitzpatrick a little bit low at 89 overall. And I'm also with Pro Football Demons, who says, wouldn't put Honey Badger over Derwin, and Adams shouldn't be over Micah. Completely agree with that. This has been fun, guys, but our guest is now here. He has popped in. We have Ty Schalter, so let's go ahead and bring him in. Shout out to our producer, Anthony, for coming up with that idea to do the Madden ratings. Ty Schalter, national NFL analyst, writes for FiveThirty8.com and is one of the hosts of the 3 and Out podcast. Ty, welcome to 30 Minutes of Football, man. How you doing?
Not too bad, Brian. How are you?
I'm great. Before we actually kick off the show, any comments on the Madden ratings? That was what we used to stall some time to get you on here. Any comments on first takes on Madden ratings?
Yeah, no, it's tough for me. I actually, could you put him back up for just a second, because I have not gone through yet with the
Anthony. Pick a position. Let's just get Ty's thoughts on one of the sets of Madden ratings, if you will. I think we saw stuff like here's just off the top of our head. CMC rated at 96 overall, obviously based on his talent. Here we go. Top safeties. So just a quick look at this. Any just quick things that jump out at you, and then we'll actually start the 30 minutes of football.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I'm switching windows on you so I can.
So we got Tyrann Mathieu 94.
Look at this. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, this tracks a little bit, but Mathieu still at 94. I'm not sure he had that great a year last year comparatively, where he's still far and away number one overall. Not, not too much sticks out as Harrison Smith still 90. There's that lag, right, where you don't want to, Madden people don't want to pull too far off, the greats at the top of the position.
Yep.
Even if the Spark ratings and the PFF ratings, maybe there's some younger guys who deserve to be higher on this list.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think we're having a little bit of some connection issues on your end, Ty. Just FYI, coming in and out on my end. Not sure what the viewers are seeing. But let's see if we can get this party started.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, cool. So, quick recap. We have some questions prepared. We're going to ask each other, Ty. We don't know what our questions are. And we're just going to have 30 minutes of football. You're going to see that timer in the middle. We'll stop briefly for halftime after 15 minutes. Are you ready to get going?
Yeah, let's go.
We had a lightning delay. The game has been delayed. The power went out, but we're back to play. 30 minutes of football with legit football starts now. So, Ty, as the guest, by default, you automatically win the toss. You can choose to receive the first question or ask the first question. Okay, and we're still having some technical difficulties with Ty. I don't know if, Ty, if you want to, pop out and come back in.
Receive? Yeah. I can try. I was gonna say I'll receive the first question.
Now I'm hearing you fine. Let's give it a try. Let's ask the question. So obviously we have to talk about the most recent news, and that's the QB contract. So Kyler signed a contract that just upped Watson's average annual. He is now the second highest paid quarterback behind Aaron Rodgers as far as average annual value. My question to you is, has he done enough to justify that? Has Kyler Murray done enough to justify, with a single playoff appearance and a poor one at that, being the number 2 overall paid quarterback?
I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. With this thing with contracts, there's a leapfrog thing that's happening. Kyler Murray is good enough to be the guy for the next few years, good enough to have earned that commitment. And in fact, I think there's actually a little bit of a carrot and a little bit of a stick. Even though it's 5 years, it's not fully guaranteed or even really close to fully guaranteed. And so then you look at that and you go, if he was really the guy, this would be like the Mahomes, 8-10 year commitment, right? So you look at that and you go, this isn't an unconditional commitment forever. And then you also look at guys like Josh Allen, you look at guys like Lamar Jackson, you look at some of these guys, Joe Burrow, these guys are going to get paid a lot more, and it's going to be a lot more guaranteed. He's going to get leapfrogged, and this is the reason why.
Okay, yeah. And on that same note, where do you see Lamar's fitting? So obviously he is kind of the next QB in the dominoes. He's representing himself. Might be a little bit different situation, but does he just one up Kyler here? Is he now the number 2? Has he done enough to justify that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Lamar, obviously you look at guys, they're both playmakers, right? Kyler and Lamar, with their feet and extend things, and can create in ways that not a lot of other quarterbacks can. But I think Lamar obviously has done more. He's an MVP, he's won in the playoffs, and he has already, if there's talks of him being, a gadget guy or a trick guy, or maybe defenses have figured him out, he's long since gone past that. So I'm not sure he makes much more in terms of average annual value, but I'm going to guess it's for a higher amount guaranteed. So I think he'd be a little bit closer to that 50 mark in terms of Aaron Rodgers. But then again, he's going to get leapfrogged when Josh Allen comes up, when Justin Herbert comes up, when Joe Burrow comes up, these guys who've proven they can win with their arm and nothing else over and over and over.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see that because you're right. These guys have actually proven themselves. Josh Allen was a coin toss away from making the AFC Championship and possibly the Super Bowl. Burrow has made a Super Bowl. Herbert is already one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. So on to you. You now have the ball. You may ask the next question.
All right. What can Dan Snyder do to get himself canceled by his 31 fellow NFL owners? And if nothing, then what does he have on his fellow 31 NFL owners that somebody, like a Jerry Richardson did not have?
I think the second part is interesting because why haven't they canceled him yet, right? What does he have on them? Is this like an ownership brotherhood where they're just like, we're going to stand up for you no matter what? Apparently, the latest is he is like on his personal yacht cruising around trying to avoid a federal subpoena. But I'm not sure that he can do anything else. I mean, this Washington franchise has had stain after stain that not only looks bad on Washington as a franchise, but looks bad on the National Football League. And usually when you start to stain the shield itself, that's where you start to see issues. They start messing with pocketbooks and financial issues. Obviously, you've got all of the workplace harassment and the sexual harassment issues. I'm not sure what else can you do. It to me, it seems like, well,
right?
He's done enough. Like when is it going to get to that point where it's like, okay, the owners are now having their names dragged through the mud. The National Football League is getting dragged through the mud. What does he have on them? What are your thoughts on this, Ty? Do you think that that there is been enough, or do you think there needs to be yet another aha moment for them to actually take action?
Yeah, I think this should be it. If at some point, Congress is going to drag him in front of them. And at some point, he's going to have to testify under oath. And at some point, all the dirty laundry is going to get aired. And it can't just be financial, And maybe that's it, is that Jerry Richardson was willing to go quietly and Dan Snyder isn't. Maybe there is more directly with the league, with his relationship with Roger Goodell and Jeff Posh and all those guys. So maybe there's more to it than that. But I have to think we are reaching the point where it is more of a liability to have him continue to be an owner than not.
Yeah, like I said, once you start messing with the finances, and especially once you start messing with the reputation of the other owners, I think that's finally going to drive them.
I tweeted out the phrase "two sets of books." That is like a magic phrase that opens jail cell doors. So when I saw that there was 2 sets of books for the NFL and for everybody else, it's like
that's like mafia. That's why I got Al Capone, right? Having the tax issues. So 2 sets of books. All right. So next question to you. Michael Thomas has basically not played football for nearly 2 straight years. The Saints already put him on the PUP list after all this news about how he's there and he's running full speed routes and all this. Is he still a viable wide receiver at this point? Can he still be the wide receiver run in New Orleans? The Saints certainly need him to be. With Dennis Allen as new head coach, Jameis as the quarterback. What are your thoughts on Michael Thomas?
Yeah, he has. I mean, there has to be something more wrong than this. The last time we saw something like this was Andrew Luck, where it was like, every few months he was making progress. Every few months there was another setback. Every medical expert, every football analyst is going back and looking at comparable injuries and timelines and going, okay, well, if they said it was this is the usual timeline for that. He should be here by now. He isn't. Why? And then it'd be like, oh, back to the drawing board. Oh, another procedure. Oh, not that. And this is that same thing with Michael Thomas, where you go, whatever's wrong, either they needed to put him on the shelf immediately, over a year, like you said, we're now looking at missing 2 full years, or there's just something chronic going on. Something's not right, and it's not gonna be right. So right now, if you're asking me buying or selling Michael Thomas ever plays again, it feels ridiculous at this point to say he's never gonna play again. But I would be certainly selling him ever coming back and being the player that he was. And you're right that the Saints need him to be.
Yeah, and we're talking a fantasy angle. If I'm not touching Thomas in drafts, that's not even maybe at like the very end, like the 13th round. If I could take a flyer, there's not really much risk at that point. But yeah, if I'm the Saints, I'm not relying on him. They better hope that Chris Olave steps up, Landry be the player that he's capable of being, because I just don't think they can rely on Thomas. I was starting to believe it. Oh, Thomas is finally coming back, and then he still starts camp on the PUP list. It's like that's the final thing for me. All right. We've got just over 6 minutes until halftime. Next question from you, Ty.
Yeah, I guess true or false, whoever wins the AFC West is going to win the Super Bowl.
Interesting. I love that. This is the first true or false question we've had, Ty. So congrats. Be the first true or false. I'm going to say false just because my pick for Super Bowl is the Bills. I actually do have the Chargers winning the AFC West and going to the AFC Championship game against Buffalo. I just think that while it wouldn't surprise me for the Chargers to get there, man, Buffalo should have been there last year. They were just, and they only got better. The roster got better. The coaching staff is still in place, minus Dable going to the Giants. So while I love the phrasing of the question, just because I have Buffalo going, I'm going to have to say false. But I'd love to get your take on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a meat grinder. It's the top division. And I think you can't sleep on Indy because they have a weaker conference and a great team. They're probably the fourth, maybe even third best team in the AFC last year. It didn't even make the playoffs. Lots of options there. But I feel like whoever manages to come out of that division is going to be an unbelievably tough out. And, maybe they don't have home field advantage all the way through because they want to have the best record. But I think the quarterbacks are going to make up for that.
So on this is not a question that I have written down, but we've talked about the AFC West a few times on here. So I want to get your take.
Sure.
Who doesn't make it in? Who does not make the playoffs from that insane gauntlet of a division?
I'm struggling with this because I love the Broncos defense. I love the move to go get Russell Wilson. I am concerned that the move to go get Russell Wilson, and I hate to put Noah Fant is not the difference between this being a title contender and missing the playoffs, right? It seems ridiculous to even assert that. But when they first made the trade, turn around and go, oh, actually, Fant was part of the package. I'm like, I don't know if Russell Wilson has enough weapons to play Russell Wilson's game. And if Russell Wilson can't play his game, is he really going to elevate them above, the Chiefs and the Chargers and, even the Raiders? I was just on Sports Lodge with Roger Lodge last night out in Orange County, the Angels radio station. And he's huge on the Raiders. He's over the moon about the Raiders, and I can see a world where Devontae Adams does for that offense what Henry Ruggs did for that offense, maybe even more. And Derek Carr goes off and there's a picture to be painted. I don't think either of these two teams is better than the Chiefs or Chargers or even in the Chiefs or Chargers leagues roster-wise. But if I had to flip a coin right now, I'd say the Raiders were just there, and you have to believe the Broncos defense is going to be top 3 probably in order for the Broncos to get ahead of Las Vegas.
I'm curious to see, too, you've got so many new parts. You've got a brand new quarterback and a brand new coaching staff with Nathaniel Hackett taking over.
Yeah.
While I just love how they look on paper, so I am picking Denver to finish ahead of Vegas. But it would not surprise me if Denver's the team out, just because it's more projection. We don't really know what we're getting yet. We don't know if these pieces work well together. And we don't know how Hackett is as a head coach. All right, so that will count as my question. So we got just over 3 minutes before halftime. Back over to you.
Cool. Yeah, okay. I guess for me, I want to take it back over to the NFC. And I want to know what you think about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because there was a case to be made 2 years ago that their regular season didn't really, them winning the Super Bowl kind of papered over a lot of real questions that were evident about their roster 2 years ago. And then this past year, they brought everybody back and it didn't end up working out. You can argue they were probably a stronger team last year than 2 years ago. And now, again, bring everybody back, bring some new guys in. Brady retires, unretires, Bruce Arians hands it off. Are you buying that the Buccaneers are the best team in the NFC or should be the favorite in the NFC?
I'm actually not. And I know I'm in the minority here. I think one of their issues last season was depth. And that was one of the things we heard. Oh, they're bringing everybody back. But if they have injuries, they're going to have issues. And they did have some injuries, especially in the secondary. But I'm also, and I could very much eat my words here, I'm not all in on Brady. And I'm not even talking about the physical decline, which I'm not even sure he will ever decline. I'm not willing to bet that this man will ever start to regress. But this is a guy who literally decided to hang it up. Is he going to, the competitive edge is what makes Brady such a legend. Does he still have that? If he was willing, even for 6 weeks, to say, I don't want to play football anymore, is that going to be enough in what's going to be just a crazy NFL season to be able to get through 17 games and get through the playoffs and lead them back there? So while I see the Bucs, I put a poll up. We do a daily poll. We're asking about Super Bowl contenders, and a lot of people pick the Bucs. And I have the Rams as the best team in the NFC. I mean, they literally just won it all. So I definitely have the Bucs as one of the top 2 or 3. But as far as the best team in the NFC, I just have, Gronk is gone there. They just signed Kyle Rudolph, but that is by no means a 1-for-1 replacement. I'm just not sure that Brady will be what they need him to be to just be able to just run shod over everybody in the NFC the way they did in the playoffs 2 years ago. Great question, though. What are your thoughts? How are you on the Bucs this season?
Yeah, and it's tough because like Tom Brady put the clown suit on me so many times.
Same.
I still have every year. Patriots fans, there are Patriots fans that have bookmarked articles of mine or have like reminders on their calendar and will get in my replies or DM me every single year still from the Patriots dynasty in 2012. Was it 2014? I think. Like the time he got hooked after that Monday night game where he threw like 3 picks to the Chiefs and lost. I was like, this is it. This is the death knell for the Patriots dynasty. And they still to this day just tweet that article at me every time Brady does anything good. So I'm not willing to bet against him, but this certainly does have all the hallmarks of maybe the magic is just not going to be so magic this time.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So that is the notification for halftime. We made it through the first 15 minutes. Quick reminder, if you haven't already, make sure to sign up for our free daily NFL newsletter at legitfootball.com. Everything you need to know about the NFL, your morning briefing for pro football, 5 minutes a day. Legitfootball.com, hit join in your email address. And Ty, why don't you let everybody know where they can read your stuff and where they can hear you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Twitter at Ty Schalter, just like it's spelled on the feed there.
Make it easy for you.
SCHALTEE. Room Sport, SPORE. Yeah. Oh, nope, there's a C in there. At TYSCHALTER.
Anthony, please put the C in.
And then
yeah.
Yeah. And then spore.tyschalter.com. If you just put that in your browser, spore, SPORE, like a mushroom.tyschalter.com. That's a hub that's got all of my channels, links, YouTube, like everything in there.
Fantastic. Yeah. And as I mentioned, make sure he does host his own NFL podcast. Make sure to check out 3 and Out. He's got Michael Shoddy and Samantha Button on there as well. I've been listening to it for multiple years now, so absolutely worth a listen.
Appreciate it.
Halftime speeches have been given. Water has been drank. Are you feeling refreshed and ready for the second half, Ty?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Great. So I will start off kicking off the question for the second half. And I want to talk about the Dallas wide receiver room and the lack of depth. So I put a poll out earlier this week, and it's really simple. On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerning is the lack of wide receiver depth for the Dallas Cowboys? Obviously, Amari Cooper now in Cleveland, Cedric Wilson now in Miami, Michael Gallup recovering from an ACL injury. So you've basically been reduced to CeeDee Lamb, which is a nice number 1, and then James Washington. What is your concerning level 1 through 10 for the Dallas Cowboys wide receiver room?
Yeah, I mean like a 7. Dak was playing very well before he got hurt. Kellen Moore's done a decent job with that offense. Zeke was eating again for a little bit before he got hurt too. So you look at that offense and you think, okay, there's enough pieces there. They're going to be good. The defense obviously has got a ton of talent on the defense as well. So my issue is more, I still don't trust the coaching. I still don't trust McCarthy, especially in the playoffs. And if I'm Dallas, I am terrified of what the Eagles did in the offseason because I think they were very aggressive in getting better. And it would have behooved the Cowboys to consider getting better in kind of the same ways that the Eagles did in terms of going out and getting A.J. Brown, adding weapons for their quarterback and continuing to build around their quarterback. Can Dak elevate that team? Yeah. Can Zeke be that guy? Yeah. Have they backfilled on the offensive line? kind of. But it's definitely a concern for me that CeeDee Lamb and basically replacement level guys until Gallup's 100% is not enough firepower. And especially, again, once you get out of the East and it's like, okay, now you have to beat the Bucs, the Packers, the Rams, the 49, I don't think they match up against the better NFC teams once at that level.
Yeah, I'm actually in agreement. I've got Philly winning that division. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Philly did a lot, as you mentioned, Ty, to get better on the offense and the defensive side of the ball. I love Philly's draft with Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, getting him where they got him, adding James Bradbury opposite Darius Slay. I mean, that is just, they did everything they can as if they're going to compete and give Jalen Hurts every chance. Where it seems like the Cowboys lost a bunch of big weapons. They lost Lyle Collins, Connor Williams on the offensive line. We mentioned the wide receivers, and they didn't seem to do a whole lot, at least from what I've seen, to try to kind of offset that. So I'm concerned about the lack of pass catchers. There's still some wide receiver free agents out there. Could they bring in an Odell Beckham Jr., who's maybe not be ready till November? Could they bring in a Julio Jones just to have another viable guy to throw the ball to 3 or 4 games, minus the games he'll be out from injury, because that's what Julio does. But yeah, I'm with you there. Next question on you, Mr. Schalter.
Yeah, and I'm gonna continue to stay in the NFC. This has been, I tweeted about this yesterday. I don't know. Do you remember the Ewing theory, Bill Simmons' old thing?
I've seen it, but refresh me about it. Yeah, Patrick Ewing, right?
Yeah, Patrick Ewing, right. So the idea of it was, back when Bill Simmons was blogging and for ESPN Page 2 in 2001 or whatever, that especially late stage Patrick Ewing was a great player, but he was going to get you 26, 32, 29, right? So building your whole offense around an aging Patrick Ewing wasn't getting the Knicks as much as Jordan or a Kobe, where if they go off, they're going off for 45, they're going off for 50, right? So is it possible that getting rid of Patrick Ewing and stopping trying to run everything through him might actually make the Knicks offense as a whole better? And so I have applied that to the Green Bay Packers.
I was like, is this Rodgers? This is Rodgers discussion.
This is Rodgers and Devontae Adams. This is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this in a couple places, but especially you watch that playoff game. Aaron Rodgers was locking on to Devontae Adams before the snap, during the snap, throughout the whole play, and chucking up a prayer to him anyway. And do you believe that Aaron Rodgers can and will maybe even execute the offense at a higher level now that he doesn't have that guy that he trusts, and he has to go through his whole progression and find guys who are open and put it on them and trust them, as opposed to trusting one guy to come up with the play?
No. Honestly, no. I mean, if you think about the best years that Rodgers had, and I'm not discounting Rodgers as a player, but he had the Jordy Nelson era. He had the era where Randall Cobb was dominant. And then he's had Devontae Adams. And now we're supposed to believe that Allen Lazard is that guy. I mean, this is not a guy who's going to come out of nowhere. We've kind of seen what Lazard is. I know that Rodgers have faith in him. He's mentioned that Lazard in his mind is the wide receiver 1. I certainly don't think Sammy Watkins is all of a sudden going to turn into Clemson Sammy Watkins again. I'd like to think that Matt LaFleur is going to be more of a run-first approach. They've got such a great running back room. They could rival the Browns for best running back duo, especially if Dillon makes an additional jump this year. And I think that's what LaFleur wants to do anyway. So I could see, if we're just talking efficiency, maybe you did mention as an efficient quarterback. If they're going to be a primarily run-first offense, they still have a really stout defense. Their secondary, Jair Alexander, Stokes, really was kind of a surprise at the second cornerback position. Rashawn Gary, we just mentioned, is now a top 10 defensive lineman, according to Madden. But I just can't see their pass catchers unless a guy like Christian Watson as a rookie just comes in and absolutely dominates. Amari Rodgers, maybe he makes a leap as a second-year player. But they don't have that dominant receiver. And as you've mentioned, as good as Rodgers is, if he's got that elite receiver, he will have games where he just locks on. And I'm going to Devontae, try and stop me. And usually they can't. You don't have that guy. You can't just lock on to Allen Lazard and say, try and stop me. I don't care if Lazard does make a leap. He is not as talented as Devontae Adams. So this is a concern to me. It's one of the reasons why I'm not as high on the Packers. I think LaFleur is a great coach. He's proven that he's capable of making this team a successful playoff team. But I think that Adams loss just like as a gain to the Raiders, is going to be a much bigger loss to the Packers than maybe the Packers think. And it's going to be really curious to watch this season. Quick thoughts from you on this. Are you in agreement with me here?
Yeah, I am, but I also am curious about is LaFleur going to be the difference, right? Because the failure mode of Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy was Aaron Rodgers starts freelancing, and we criticize McCarthy for a lot of things, and a lot of times, sometimes McCarthy started to push back and go, well, I can call all the plays I want. If Rodgers checks into something else at the line and then does whatever he wants to do, I can't. That's not me calling plays. That's him calling plays. So I wonder, can LaFleur design better stuff? And is Aaron Rodgers going to be on board with it? And is Aaron Rodgers going to do the extra work to work well together with him? And I think that's really going to be it. Can LaFleur and Rodgers work together better when the chips are down than McCarthy and Rodgers?
I'm going to add a quick question on there just because we had a question in the chat from 49ers Faithful Forever. And I don't know how much you do on fantasy, but I'm going to ask you this anyway. Is Aaron Jones a top 8 fantasy back with A.J. Dillon in his second season? I'll get your take, and then I'll give my thoughts as well.
Yeah, I don't do a ton of fantasy analysis anymore. I started, I used to be huge into fantasy. I was in a local auction keeper league in like 1997, right? So I've been doing season-long fantasy for ages and ages. Yeah. And actually the thing that got me out of it was it stopped being, the amount of information is so high. Everybody in a league has access to all the information they need. And so much of it becomes more about luck and stuff that you can't project.
Right.
Or your football knowledge is just not going to tell you. This is something I think, the carries are going to get bid into, the touches are going to get bid into, but he's a super talented guy. And, I'll take half of Aaron Jones over half the running backs in the league right now. Just the way the position has changed and the way guys are out there, you just don't have, if you're looking at Aaron Jones or whoever running back, 16, 17, 18 is on your list, you take Aaron Jones, right? It's just top 8. Maybe pushing it, but you still end up betting on talent if he's still there late, later in your draft, middle rounds. You're sitting there, you still don't have a running back, or you're in auction. It just kind of hits you at a good spot for money. You won't be sorry that you took him over,
Zeke.
any of those, over Zeke, over any of that mid tier, the 10 through 20 guys.
I'm with you, and just real quick, specifically in PPR. We're talking about Packers pass catchers. Aaron Jones could end up being the biggest beneficiary of getting just extra targets. This is a guy who has proven to be a fantastic receiver out of the backfield. So top 8 might be slightly rich, but I could certainly see it happening, especially in PPR leagues, if he does get a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 more targets per game because they don't have anyone else to throw to. But great question, 49ers Faithful. Appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to ask you quickly. We don't have to go too far in this, but I do want to touch on Sean Payton. There's been some news recently, I'm sure leaked by his side, that he does expect to coach again. He doesn't know where, but if he did, it would be warm weather, somewhere where he could golf, somewhere with a competitive roster. Just quickly, what is your take on the Sean Payton situation? Do we see him again, and do you have a hot take on where he might end up?
Yeah, I think we see him again. I think that suspension, where he coached youth football and did some other stuff, that is a chance for reflection that basically no other NFL head coach gets, and a chance for prioritization and figuring out what you want, and the experience of having stepped away from it at your peak, being pushed out of it at your peak. And you get to say, like, what do I really want to do this? And seeing that it's run its course at the Saints and knowing, hey, I can take a year off, I can chill out, and then I can pick my spot. I can do some TV. Maybe I like TV better. There are plenty of coaches who went into TV for a year and just never came back because it's a lot easier. You make significant fractions of the money for like a 10th of the effort, right? So I can see Payton doing that, but I also can see him waiting to see and get the competitive fire stoked. And I can also see maybe he and Jerry Jones have a handshake already, right? Like maybe it's already done.
I think that's the spicy take that a lot of people are kind of leaning in. If there's a real possibility here, is that he could be with Dallas. We talk about Mike McCarthy took a year off and claimed he came back as an improved coach, and he gets analytics and all that. And while I like the talent on Dallas, I'm not big on McCarthy. All right. Just under 4 minutes left. Next question goes to you.
All right, cool. I guess, and then again, I keep going back to the NFC because the AFC is like, we know there's like 8 amazing teams, and they all could be in the mix. Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna pivot a little tiny bit here. The like bounce back teams, right? Teams that had injuries, teams that you're expecting big things from last year and it didn't pan out. Teams you had high expectations for. Who do you think is best positioned to make a run this year? That I'll prompt you a little bit by saying I am extremely high on the Ravens, but I think there are other teams out there. Like who do you think is best to capitalize this year?
I mean, a really, really obvious pick besides Baltimore, which I completely agree with you, is the Chargers, just because technically they missed the playoffs. But if we're talking about injury specifically or just bad luck, let's talk about the Vikings. That's a team that, I thought had a playoff caliber roster, and they had some insane stat. I don't have it in front of me, where like 9 of their games were decided like within the last 2 minutes, either at half. I think if you took away the scores between the last 2 minutes of the second quarter and the last 2 minutes of the game, the Vikings would have been like 12-5 or something insane like that. So I feel like they've got the talent. Justin Jefferson is on the verge of being one of the best wide receivers in the entire NFL. If Dalvin Cook can stay healthy, you got Madison who's a fantastic second back there. I'm not as down on Kirk Cousins as a lot of people. So I'm kind of monitoring Minnesota, and that division is now, Green Bay's taken a step back. I think the Bears are one of the worst rosters in the entire league. I'm higher on your Lions, so we could talk about them briefly, but they're still the Lions. They're not necessarily a playoff caliber team, so Minnesota could have a nice path. I have them making the playoffs as a wild card team this year, so I don't know. I kind of like the Vikings if their defense can make a jump as one of those teams that kind of bounces back. How about you?
Yeah, that's fascinating, and at 5:30 8, the article is already written. It is just waiting for the opportunity to go live with once camps are open a little bit here, preseason's up. I studied what we called coin flip games by great public demand 2 years ago, because not all one-score games were actually decided in the
Did you write about this last year? I feel like I read.
I did two years ago. 2 years ago, I did, and people.
Nice.
Yeah, and people have been begging me to update it. Well, I updated it.
Nice.
And I will tell you, you are 100% right on the Packers and the Vikings. The Packers won 5 of their 6 close games, and the Vikings, I think, they had the biggest. The Vikings and Ravens had the biggest swing,
like negative swing. Yeah.
Swing. Wow. And the Vikings were on the low end of their range. Lost all their close ones, and the Vikings had won all their close ones. The Vikings would have won the NFC North by 3 games.
Wow.
So that's how, yeah. And by close ones, it's win probability of 60-40 or last 5 minutes of regulation. So that's. You are on the right track with that. I'm not sure the Vikings are in the right spot to capitalize on it,
sure,
but the luck, the regression to the mean is certainly there.
Yeah, could be. Kevin O'Connell, be interested to watch him. One last question. We got 5 seconds. Over under Lions 6.5 wins.
Over.
Our producer Anthony, who is a Lions fan, went over. I'm actually in agreement with both of you guys. I like the Lions to get into that like 7-8 win range. That is it. The game is up. We're at the post-game press conference. Ty Schalter, how do you feel you performed today?
Oh, I did good. Nice. We both like to talk. We both cut it a little close on time there, but
we did.
Good questions. Good questions, I think, from both of us. Good answers. I thought that was entertaining.
I think this was the first time like we went over a little bit in the second quarter because it's just the information was going well. So Ty, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure to check out Ty's work both at 5:30 8. Check him out on Twitter at Ty Schalter. Make sure to put that C in there. Unlike our producer, the first time he put it on there, you can see it on the screen right now. Check out the 3 and Out podcast. The guy knows his NFL stuff. He's been writing about the NFL for many, many years. And check out the rest of his stuff too. Ty, we'll have you on again. Always nice to see you. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Appreciate all of you watching live and in the chat. And thanks for listening to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football.
I would see Kansas City as a team being on the outside looking in.
That's spicy.
Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner.